That's not very good.
I'm trying not to crash my glasses.
Oh. Hey friends, you're watching BrainStormAcres. I'm Henry.
And I'm Irene.
Today we're going to have a long overdue tomato taste test.
So I have the Invincibles. The Tachi are not ready. There's no Invincibles on there that are ready. Like I said, we have to taste test that and see if it's ready. Granadero. Very soon. Okay. I am going to run the irrigation right now and see what I can figure out. See if something went wrong with the system here, which is a possibility. I'm going to run it on manual, all of them, and I'm going to run them for 15 minutes.
Well, it's the irrigation because it's not quite working right, but I have a few more ideas that we'll go try today, and we'll see if that changes anything.
Right, Henry thinks it may actually be an equipment issue.
Yeah, that happens.
Very rarely. I mean, for all the years we've been here, we've only lost a couple of bits and pieces over the years. We've probably broken more by freezing than we have by any other method. But yeah, we think there's an issue with at least one of the valves.
One of the valves, I think, has a problem, but we'll sort that out, and we'll tell you what that is later on.
Okay, so we have 4 kinds of tomatoes. This one, I confess, is not ours. This is Hausenator. We are growing Hausenators, but ours are not ripe yet.
They're almost ready.
They're getting there, but we wanted to make sure we had a dead ripe one so that we could, give a fair test. This one is an Hausenator's from Haus Tools.
It's actually from Deb and Bev. Thank you, Deb.
Yes.
And Bev.
Right. But it's the Haus Tools seeds. This is a Invincible. That is also a Haus Tools seed.
That's a paste tomato.
Paste tomato. This is Granadero, which is a Johnny's Select Seeds seed.
Also a paste tomato.
Right. And these are dwarf tomatoes from Haus, Red Robin. And so those plants only get like this tall, but
they're really nice patio tomato plant.
More caffeine?
No caffeine.
Yeah, that's what the problem is, no caffeine.
Which way do you want to start? You want to start with the paste tomato first?
Yeah, let's do that. Now, one of the things that we're always looking for is what we would call big tomato taste. It doesn't matter how pretty the flavor the plant is. It doesn't matter what the colors of the leaves are. It doesn't matter what the color of the fruit is. What we care about is the flavor. That's why we are growing tomatoes at home. Otherwise, I could just buy the same old baseball bats I could buy at the grocery store and not worry about it.
Or softballs.
Oh, softballs.
Or
yeah.
golf balls.
Yes, really. So this is a Granadero.
Why don't you take that one right there, because that has a little bit of the stem.
Okay.
Now the skin on paste tomatoes are usually thicker than the normal slicer tomatoes.
Right.
Some of the slicers are pretty thick as well.
Right, and in the past we have used Granadero for slicer tomatoes, like they do good caprese salads and stuff like that. But I can really tell that the skin on this is a lot tougher. Now, when we're making tomato sauce and tomato paste, the tomato skin comes out, so it doesn't make any difference. We're concerned most about the flavor. And what we were actually looking for this year was, is there a better paste tomato that we could grow? We have tried over the years, literally dozens. And some of them are extremely susceptible to blossom end rot in our climate. Well, that's a waste of time because blossom end rot will happen here because of the extreme temperature swings and things like that. So our goal is always to find a tomato that will tolerate the extreme swings in moisture and temperature and still not have major physiological issues.
Nice looking tomato.
Yeah, this is an Invincible, and we haven't tasted it before.
It should be interesting.
It's okay, but it's relatively flavorless in comparison to Granadero. Now, this may not be completely ripe. That was another question that we had, was this completely ripe yet? This was the softest one in there. We know from experience that some of the tomatoes that we have used for tomato sauce and paste before don't really get soft the way the slicers do. In fact, if you get them to the soft phase, they're kind of overly ripe. This is a prolific tomato. I mean, the plant is literally, I've had to tie up more branches and stuff because it's collapsing under the weight of its own tomatoes.
I think this would actually make decent sauce. I think a combination of these two paste tomatoes would make a good sauce.
Right, well, we always combine whatever's ripe at the time when we make sauce, but my first impression is I'm not impressed. It's okay. It's certainly not bad.
Let's finish eating it.
I have one more paste tomato that I tried from Haas.
It's going to be really noisy because I'm still chewing, and that is going to be picked up by the microphone.
Right, I can hear crunch, crunch, crunch in my own head. Drippy fingers.
Here, you can try the first one again. This has a bit better tomato flavor.
Yeah, it definitely has a bit better tomato flavor. So, first impression is I like Granadero better than I like Invincible. We have another Haas Seeds paste tomato called Shelby. Those tomatoes are nowhere near ripe yet. So,
yeah, it'd be interesting to go back and see what the length for completion of those tomatoes are supposed to be.
right.
Shall we go with the little bitty ones now?
Yeah, these are the Red Robins.
I have to confess, and she doesn't know it, but I've been going by snacking on these all the time because I think they're really good.
They are. They have a big tomato flavor on a small plant. They do crack sometimes when they've been overwatered, but not nearly as bad as many of the other cherry tomato sort of things that we've tried. They do not crack as bad as Gardener's Delight.
Now these, I think, actually qualify as a grape tomato, don't they?
No, wrong size, wrong shape.
Oh, wrong shape.
They're round.
They look like a grape to me.
Yeah, but they're round. Grape tomatoes are ovoid.
You ready for a
Piece of Hausenator? Sure. We've been living off Hausenators for the last month.
Tomato sandwiches,
BLTs.
Canadian bacon BLTs.
And lots of caprese salad. I'll just take a piece of a slice. Because it is good to remind yourself. Now, one of the things we're hoping to do later is we're hoping to have some of our own Hausenators to taste against the other ones, because the taste of an individual tomato can vary depending on the soil and stuff it's grown in. So we've been totally in love with the stuff that Deb and Bev gave us, but we'll be in love with our own stuff.
I think we had about 40 tomatoes from them. It was about 20 pounds of tomatoes. It was tremendous. We started eating them from the most ripe to the least ripe. That held very, very well.
Yep, and we still have some that are, like, this is just ripe. It's not dead ripe. But the flavor's great. Real tomato flavor. Now, one of the problems when you say real tomato flavor is that, what does that mean to different people? To us, it means a full-bodied flavor, not too sweet, not too acid. It has to have real tomatoes in there. Like I commented that the Invincible, you're kind of looking for the tomato flavor.
Never really happens.
Never really happens. Now, like I say, that may improve with age. So we'll let some of them go longer and try again.
You mean we have to get older to taste the tomato in them?
I live with this every day, guys. I do. He's got a bad case of today. Anyway.
Better than being a dumb.
No comment. Anyway, I recognize that people like different flavors of tomatoes. Some of the traditional tomato flavors that Henry and I would like, which are a little bit more acidic, some modern people wouldn't like at all. They want them to be sweet and almost like nothing flavor to them, just sort of an orange thing, because that's what they grew up with in the store.
Well, you know, there is a tomato that is orange that I really like the flavor of, specifically for tomato sandwiches.
Right.
And that's a seed that we got from our friend CB at CB's Greenhouse and Garden. It's an Amanda orange. It is a tremendous tomato.
Right.
We grew them last year, the year before.
We've grown them every year since we got the seeds.
And we'll get tomatoes that are about that big around, and they make a perfect slice for a nice, thick, fat tomato sandwich.
We have fruit this year, but it's not ripe yet. So we're trying to kind of keep up with flavor profiles as we go along. And I know that if and when we get ripe fruit off of the Amanda orange, it'll have a very distinctive flavor.
I love that flavor.
It's different than the Hossinator, but it's a really good flavor. Now, we're going to have to try this again, obviously, later on. I do want to compare Shelby to Invincible. The one that I had really wanted to grow this year, which was a determinant, is Bella Rosa, and none of my Bella Rosa seeds germinated. So
Twice?
Yes, twice.
So which tomato do you want to have another slice of?
Oh, Hossinator, that's easy.
Oh, you want another piece of Hossinator?
But not right now. I just ate breakfast.
Well.
I know this is second breakfast, right?
Well, by now it is. It should be.
It should be. Yeah, it's definitely second breakfast.
I'll give you a quarter piece of tomato.
Anyway, Henry's the kind of person who can eat tomatoes 24 hours a day. I prefer them at set times of the day. Anyway, so this is our first analysis. We're very happy with Hossinator. We're uncertain with Invincible at this point. What we're looking for is we're incredibly happy with the disease packages on a bunch of the Hoss tomatoes. They are super resistant to lots and lots of different things. I mean, it's one of these things where, you know, the old tomatoes, they would say, oh, well, it's an heirloom, and it would have no resistance to anything. And anything that came along would whack it. Hossinator, Invincible, they all have really good disease packages. So we're trying to see if we can find tomato varieties that we would grow in the future that would have good disease packages. If they're a stable hybrid, so much the better. If
That's the best, actually.
That's the best, if you can get a stable hybrid. Because then you can literally take those seeds and save them and still get the same kind of quality. So far, Hossinator gets the big award. Red Robin gets award number 2.
Granadero is an old standby for us.
Yes, we've been growing Granadero for years.
And we'll continue to grow Granadero because it has such a great flavor.
Right.
I'm not sure about...
Like I said, we're going to let some more get more ripe, and we'll see what happens with that. I'm not convinced yet. I'm not unconvinced, too, because one of the reasons I harvested that tomato was it was what appeared to be the ripest one there. And I'm looking at the interior of it, and I'm saying, well, you know, maybe it could have gone a little bit longer. The Granadero definitely has a very tough...
tough skin.
Skin.
Very tough skin.
And Invincible skin is tough, but not quite as tough. You know, I don't worry about the toughness of the skin because I'm going to run it through a food mill anyway. And we're going to...
You know, I peeled the skin off, and when you look at that, it doesn't look like it's quite right. But, you know, there's an awful lot of commercial tomatoes that never look any better than this.
Right. So we will try again. I'm not giving up on them yet. Hossinator is definitely a win. There's no question about that. And so far, I am super pleased with Red Robin. The Yellow Canary, we have not gotten any fruit off yet, even though they were planted at the same time as the Red Robin. And we just have a couple of fruits that are starting to go from deep green to light green.
And the red robin, by comparison, is great tomato because it has a ton of fruits on it.
Right. Well, the yellow canary does too. We just thought we'd try a couple of different flavors because it can be kind of fun sometimes to have the different flavors, because some of them do really have different flavors. They'll have sort of a lemony taste to them or something else. So
If you're going to grow one plant on your patio,
yeah, I would a
one
red
tomato
robin.
plant, red robin is it.
Right. And I'm sitting here with an empty thing with no emitter on it, and it's got a lousier flow than the ones that are empty completely. There is something funky going on here, and I don't know what. So I'm going to take off the emitter here, and I'm going to put this in here, and we're going to see what happens. I suspect, having now tried this with no emitter on it, there's actually a problem with the water pressure. That's my theory of life right now. Because if the water pressure's not working right, the system's not going to work right. I have an emitter here that has, a line here that has no emitter on it. None, zero, like an empty hole. It should be pouring water out of there like crazy, and it is not.